Hi everyone, Glucose Model Designs here, part 9 of the Tamyia 1350 scale Yamato Premium Edition build. So we've done some pre-fitting as well as some parts that are installed now, which I'll show you. But just to cover the deck again, the last video we had installed the wooden deck, and so far so good. There's no ripples, no peeling. It's on there pretty good. I haven't noticed any flaws. So very happy with how that turned out. Now, what we've done since is install the catapults. Now, this is a very important step, I should say, because there are polycaps in here that attach to the catapults. And why that's important is it actually holds down this deck piece without using any glue. I've noticed with this model so far, the use of glue is very limited because most of it's been held down by screws. But as you can see, as I built, I did do glue in certain parts and things like that. But with these being in a polycap, you have the ability to turn the catapults whichever way you want if you're displaying your model in a certain way. Now, I'm doing mine on the stand, of course, so I probably have this, mounted and shown as if, it was a picture of a ship kind of thing. Like, I'm not going to do too much weathering, things like that. I'm building the ship as if it was, brand new off the factory floor, so to speak. But the good thing about using these polycaps and then the screw, which is in there, is you don't have to use any glue, which is great because you're not going to have the glue pouring out the sides. There are certain parts underneath that I did put some glue on just to keep it nice and tight. But the screws, they hold it in fairly nice, as you can see there. And then they hide it cleverly with a piece there. And for this piece here, I'll probably add a couple life buoys just to add some color to the model. Because as you can see with the catapults, I did do a different color, just to separate, otherwise it just looks just one color, all gray, all bland. So, it's a good idea to maybe use a couple colors here and there. So it's still keeping with the IGN or Imperial Japanese Navy colors. And then, of course, we have the gun emplacements. We'll get to that as we build. So those are coming along nice. And moving to the superstructure, this is not glued in or painted yet. I just want to do some pre-fitting, as you can see. Don't panic because, again, there'll be a wall here, so that'll cover that. Any places like this where gun emplacement will go, if it's not covered, that's why I kept the scraps, just so I can fill it in if need be. Other things I did too with the superstructure is I drilled out the portholes, as you can see. That's an option. They do come kind of, pre-engraved on the model, so you could paint it or you can drill it. I just chose to drill it just because when it's sitting on here, it's so dark inside the model, it actually looks a lot better. You can paint them, which I will be painting. There's some portholes along the side. I didn't drill those just because of the way this model is built. I didn't want to drill into a supporting piece or anything like that. So I thought, okay, I'll just leave that be, but I'll paint the ones there. But for this, I've decided to drill them, as you can see here. You should be able to see the holes. So again, find the appropriate drill bit and then drill them, and then make sure you kind of get them lined up nicely. If they're off a little bit, then it kind of looks awful. As soon as you get one that's off, it just kind of looks silly. But do the best you can, obviously. So the next step will be building the superstructure area. I'll probably build it separate from the actual hull of the model, just because ease of access, right? You can flip it around, things like that. Then at the last minute, I'll put it in, and it looks like it's already rigged for screws. There's the pegs. So again, another piece that'll be used. Held on by screws, which is great. Again, you don't want, glue smushing through as you put through, and then you got to deal with the glue mess. So, very well built and constructed this model is. I've used very little glue throughout the build, as you noticed. I did obviously put glue over the screws just to keep them in place, things like that. But one could get away a lot without using any glue on this model. So moving forward, again, this isn't glued in yet. I just wanted to make sure it was nicely fit in there along these seam lines here, just to make sure that I did do it right. Because if this is too forward or too far back, this part here won't sit right. So once you get one piece that's just sitting not right, the whole model could be thrown off later on. But so far so good. And of course the turret rings, again, they're not glued in. I'm glad I didn't have them installed prior to doing the wooden deck. That would have been really hard to get around. So there we go. I know not the most interesting review, especially because it's been a while on this, but I have other projects on the go, as you've noticed. So I didn't want to rush through this, especially with the cost of this model and the amount of parts in this model. You know, just working on it slowly, you know, and making sure that everyone can catch up on this build if you are following along. So there we go. So thanks so much, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe, and then stand by for more videos, and I look forward to your comments.